Sex education is a subject in both public and private junior high schools. Should it be implemented? Statistics have shown that 1 out of 2 people have experienced the act of sex. More surprisingly, among adolescents that have experienced sexual activities, there is a percentage of 83% that state that they did not get proper sexual education until after they lost their virginity. According to a Canadian researcher, people need to start teaching kids about the proper terms when talking about intimate body parts. It's not hoo-ha or flower. Instead, we should teach them the words vagina and vulva. This pertains to giving children naming power as a key part of their sexual development and a tool against sexual abuse. Secondly, the Philippines has implemented the reproductive health law and has urged the Department of Education to mandate sex education in the country. Third and lastly, a local survey that was held in Davao has showed that people who have less in education also have less in sex education. And as a result, sex education may encourage to define their family conditions that regard economic, health, and life opportunities. Whether you heard it on the television or you laughed with your friends about it, sex education has been a trivial topic for most people. Sex education is learning about a variety of topics that are related to an individual's sex and sexuality, expanding your knowledge about values and beliefs, and earning the skills that are needed to help you build relationships in the future and maintain your own sexual health. Against popular belief, it's not just about the act of making love to your significant other, but the key points involve more on human development, interpersonal relationships, communication, and societies and different cultures. Although the Department of Health urged the Department of Education to implement sex education in elementary schools to abide by the reproductive health law, proper sexual education is still lacking for most schools in the Philippines, including Davao City. Most people have no access in proper education, which means that they also have no access to proper sex education, and are possibly depending on their neighbors' chismes that are least likely to be true. You may not realize it, but sex education is essential because young people need access to information that will help them grow with a positive attitude regarding sex and sexuality. Although sex education is seen as a course that promotes the act of sexual intercourse, high school should still implement it because it will dismiss the myths that surround sex, it promotes sexual responsibility, and can guarantee the safety of an individual's reproductive health. Due to misconceptions about sex, there is an increase in teenage pregnancy. According to the 2017 National Demographic Health Survey of the Philippine Statistics Authority, the number of childbearing adolescents has been rising rapidly with a 1% increase in ages 15 and a 22% increase in ages 19. Moreover, based on the data from the International Planned Parenthood Federation, if most adolescents, especially to those in the rural areas, have access to media and programs that promote correct information regarding sexual education, then the statistics of childbearing adolescents will decrease. Due to misconceptions about sex, there is an increase in teenage pregnancy. According to the 2017 National Demographic Health Survey of the Philippine Statistics Authority, the number of childbearing adolescents has been rising rapidly with a 1% increase in ages 15 and a 22% increase in ages 19. Moreover, based on the data from the International Planned Parenthood Federation, if most adolescents, especially to those in the rural areas, have access to media and programs that promote correct information regarding sexual education, then the statistics of childbearing adolescents will decrease. This insinuates that without proper access to information about the topic of sex education, people will have a hard time learning about it. Since media is often unreachable in rural areas, there is a chance that there will be an increase in reproductive health risks, particularly teenage pregnancy. Lack of information sources is crucial to an individual's self-awareness, since it can lead to one's ignorance that can cause their physical, social, and political downfall. Sex education can promote sexual responsibility. Risk reduction strategies help adolescents protect their health, including delaying sex, using condoms or contraception, and practicing celibacy. Based on the National Survey of Family Growth, the influence of sexuality education for ages 15 to 19 and on sexual risk-taking found that teens who undergo comprehensive sex education were less likely to experience pregnancy by 50% than those who go through abstinence only until marriage programs. Furthermore, sex education is intended to be age-appropriate to propagate the idea that young people need to take personal responsibility for their health and well-being. It suggests that sex education reduces the chance of an individual, most likely adolescents, to experience teenage pregnancy. In addition, sex education is a developmental program that will help most people to be more responsible for what they opt to do. Authorities should deconstruct hurdles regarding sexual health, including lack of access to healthcare. In 2018, Education Secretary Leonard Briones stated that there is a need for a comprehensive sex education policy for the young generation, and in line with this, she approved a department order to establish said policy. In addition, the aim of the said policy is to provide the youth with correct and appropriate life skills that can cultivate gender equality and empowerment, clarify their morals and attitude, and decrease the risk of poor health outcomes. This means that the government is trying to implement a policy that will help the youth to be more knowledgeable about sex, because there is a lack of it in our country, which is a problem that is slowly increasing in our society. Responsibility goes two ways. An individual must acknowledge and take full authority of their actions, and the society needs to provide the necessary measures to help them become more self-aware and prepared for real-life situations. Sex education can be used as a tool to stop the increasing reproductive health concerns. According to the Department of Health, as of January until March, there are 2,818 new HIV cases documented in the country, which is the result of inadequate sex education programs in the country. Furthermore, comprehensive sex education does not encourage and discourage individuals to engage in sexual activities. However, it does teach them how to be safe if they were to engage in sexual activities. This indicates that there is a rampant increase in health risks in the country, which must be stopped since it is endangering the lives of many people. And sex education can be used as a tool or a part of our drive to view our health as our number one priority to live longer and without risk or harm. On the other hand, sex education may go against an individual's moral or religious beliefs. It is stated in the Separation of Church and State Constitution that no one has the right to interfere in the religious teachings of other people's children, not even schools. In addition, the young generation has the tendency to not take the subject seriously. This is due to the fact that sex education is seen as a taboo in the eyes of children, since there is lack in proper education, and could also be because of how media portray sex as something to be humorous. Similarly, most people see sex education as a course that promotes sexual intercourse. According to Carmel Wine, it is feasible and unrealistic to expect teachers to be more successful in encouraging young people to delay sexual activity than the ones that raised them. The teacher's job is to help students develop their personal and social skills and make sure that they have accurate factual information. As a result, research shows that family relationships have more impact on sexual behavior than knowledge alone. However, these emphasize that ignorance is adamant in our country. The purpose of sexual education is not to preach for or against students' religious stance, but to educate them on the proper information that they have the right to have access to. Secondly, sex education is seen as a taboo for two reasons: ignorance and misconception. We live in a society where most people believe in being conservative and modesty, but this is not a reason to hinder an individual from knowing the right information about the autonomy of their bodies. People should learn that factual information will not blind you from your own personal beliefs, most especially religious stances, but it will serve as a guide to what you should or should not do. Again, comprehensive sexual education does not encourage an individual to engage in sexual activities. Sex education serves as a stepping stone for people to have opportunities to explore and expand their individual values as well as those of their families and communities. A study by the World Health Organization stated that a comprehensive sex education program that teaches young people about both abstinence and contraception do not escalate sexual activity, nor encourage students to engage in sex at an earlier age. Careful evaluations have shown that these programs can assist the youth to delay sexual initiation. As for those who have already had sex, these programs have been shown to be successful in decreasing the number of sexual intercourse and in helping them to use proper contraception more consistently. Despite the disadvantages, implementing sex education as part of a subject in high school is still essential to fight against the misinformation that has been spiraling throughout the years and promote self-awareness regarding reproductive health. Finally, yet importantly, with the instance that sexual education is in the light as a subject that promotes the act of sexual intercourse, I stick by the belief that high school should implement sex education as part of a subject because it will dismiss the myths that surround sex. It promotes sexual responsibility, can guarantee the safety of an individual's reproductive health. Education is imperative to live in a society where knowledge is power. It empowers an individual to set new opportunities, goals, and perspectives in viewing life as a whole. The more that we know, the more that it is easier for us to get over hardships and obstacles. Having access to sex education is not only essential to our needs and rights as a human being, but it also a key ingredient in demolishing ignorance. Some people might not think about the importance of sex education for the youth. However, you must realize that there are hundreds, maybe even thousands of people that are affected by the misconceptions of sexual health that the world is not aware of. All things considered, I must admit that I was once ignorant of learning about sexual health for childish and immature reasons. However, as I mature in an underdeveloped society where there are mothers who are younger than I am, I begin to realize that the lack of information is a thief that robs them of their childhood and a thief that robs them of their youth. You should also pay attention too, or else you will be robbed of something you took for granted as well.